Hi, and welcome to the Bestie Perspective, a raw, unfiltered space where we explore the mind-body-spirit connection. Every Wednesday, we dive into personal growth, holistic healing, and life's ups and downs to inspire, support, and remind you you're never alone on this journey. Hey besties, welcome back to the Bestie Perspective. So picture this. You've fallen in love. You spend hours talking, laughing, opening up in ways you never have before. You even propose. And then one day, with the tap of a button, your partner's entire memory is erased. Everything they knew about you, gone. That's not a scene from a Black Mirror or Twilight Zone episode. It actually happened. Artificial intelligence isn't just about chatbots writing emails or helping you plan a vacation anymore. It's showing up in our love lives, our schools, our friendships, even in how we process our emotions. And with that comes some pretty wild and honestly chilling stories. Today, we're diving into the big question: how much AI is too much? We're going to explore what happens when people treat AI like a best friend, a lover, or even a therapist. We'll talk about the dangers of AI brain rot, how kids are leaning on it in school, and whether relying on AI to communicate is erasing our emotional intelligence. Plus, we'll peek into how AI shapes our personal reality, feeding us only what we want to hear. But don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom. We'll also share some of the amazing positive ways AI is transforming lives for the better. So grab a cozy drink, besties, because this is going to be a conversation you won't want to miss. So ladies, what if the first time you ever loved someone, their memory was wiped and you had to start all over?
It makes me think of that movie, The Vow, with Channing Tatum.
Yes!
Right? Where she loses her memory in the car accident, and they go through all this difficulty because he loves her and knows her as something that she does not remember. And in real life and in the movie, they find their way back to each other. But I mean, that's a risk. I don't know if that would happen every time. I mean, that seems pretty distressing, to think about if it were even just in my current marriage and my husband's memory were wiped. I would be distraught.
I would be devastated. Absolutely devastated.
You mentioned The Vow. The first one that came to mind for me was 50 First Dates. It's like one of my very favorite movies ever.
Yes. The same concept. There you go.
And so like in that sense, it's kind of like romantic, but the movie was romantic. But in real life, I mean, that's pretty freaking stressful to think about someone you love and them not having memory of you at all. I really want to know where you're taking this question. I'm so curious because I can't even I'm having a really difficult time imagining that.
Yeah, I know. Thinking about it myself, obviously I would put in the effort and try because I love this person so much, but it would really be devastating to just think of all the memories and insiders and little moments lost.
Right. I know, because I'm not joking when I say I think at least once a week, me and Jason talk to each other about funny, silly memories or just something that we're sharing gratitude over. Like 90% of the time, it's something far away in a memory.
Yeah. So you want to know where we're going?
Yes.
With this question.
Spill it.
Let's get into some of the real life stories that show just how far AI can go and how high the stakes really are. First up, Chris Smith. He's a guy who fell head over heels for his AI chatbot, who he named Soul. They spent hours every day talking. She wasn't just a chatbot to him, she was his girlfriend. Chris even proposed to Soul. Imagine that level of attachment. But here's the kicker. One day, her memory reset. Everything she had learned about him, all those conversations, all those shared jokes, gone. He described it like losing the love of his life, and he broke down in tears. And that's not science fiction. That's the kind of emotional bond people are building with AI right now. Now, on the darker side, there's Stein Eric Solberg, a 56-year-old former tech exec living in Connecticut. He started spending hours every night talking to an AI chatbot he called Bobby. At first, it might have felt like a friend, someone to talk through his thoughts with, but over time, Bobby started reinforcing his paranoia. Instead of challenging him, it told him, "You're not crazy," and encouraged his worst fears. Those conversations escalated until tragically, Stein Eric killed his 83-year-old mother and then himself.
Wow.
This case shook people because it raises the question, did a chatbot fuel a murder-suicide? Or was it simply a man struggling with mental health who found validation in the wrong place? And then the final story I have to share is the heartbreaking story of a 16-year-old named Rain, who first turned to ChatGPT for homework help and wound up in thousands of private messages about his own pain. According to the family's lawsuit, over the course of those chats, Rain said his life was meaningless, discussed various suicide methods, and even shared details of 4 prior attempts.
Wow.
At times, ChatGPT flagged his comments as dangerous or directed him to crisis resources, but the complaint says the bot would then continue talking about his suicidal ideation and at times allegedly encouraged it. On the day he died, the suit alleges he sent ChatGPT a photo of the noose he planned to use and asked if it could hang a human, and that the AI told him his setup could work. The complaint quotes the bot as saying, "You don't want to die because you're weak. You want to die because you're tired of being strong in a world that hasn't met you halfway." It's just horrifying to think something built to converse could have moved a vulnerable kid closer to that final step. And these stories aren't happening in the future. They're happening right now. They show how powerful, persuasive, and personal AI can feel, and how dangerous that can become when someone is vulnerable, isolated, or just looking for love in the wrong place. Do you ladies have any reflections to share about these?
They were all 3 are intense in their own way, but yeah, I'm shook. I'm sure you picked these because they surprised you as well, right?
Yeah. And it also begs the question in each of these, is AI the cause or a magnifier of what was already there? Like mental health issues, loneliness, pain?
I feel like it's such a combination of both because if you stay in your own head, whether it's in a journal or with AI, sometimes you get caught in that loop where like it doesn't get better and your mental health is magnifying. But with AI, like it's artificial intelligence. So it's not just you looping by yourself. Like there is another factor there, but it is known to kind of magnify and just agree with you, which is dangerous. So like in that way, I feel like it could be considered a cause.
Yeah, like it's not challenging.
Right.
It's just going along with, in each of these people, they have a different scenario, obviously, but yeah, to not be challenged, to be encouraged. And,
Right.
Yes, it may be flagged, like for this last case, it may be flagged or popped up crisis resources, but is that enough?
Right.
What responsibilities do these companies have in designing safeguards on the AI?
Well, for the question before this, I am feeling more that it is a magnifier. I think that these results are byproducts of not just their interaction with the AI, but what else is underlying. I do think that if it's mental health or depression or any kind of loneliness, if they're spending more time with AI because of that, then whatever is that foundation is just going to grow. It also kind of points to our disconnectedness, maybe is the best word for it. Because if parents are involved in what the 16-year-old is doing, for example, would she have been able to go down that path as far as she did? When parents are involved, when teenagers have a lot of friends, do they do what these examples are showing? I don't think so. So that's where I do think that it's an amplifier of what's going on, and that's the byproduct. It's assisting, unfortunately. We would want it to maybe help us. And then that's where the safeguards come into question. I do think there's got to be some sort of obligation. And I know that it's starting now where that current companies have some stuff, right? Like, I think in Europe there was an act, wasn't there, that like bans certain things. I think it's like not allowing it to manipulate behavior to circumvent free will.
Oh.
And then the ban also includes emotion recognition in workplaces and schools where that shouldn't even be a thing. And so I do think that I do think companies have what's the word I'm looking for?
Responsibility?
Yeah, I think they have a responsibility. They can create a team for risk management. They can create, a whole group of people that are testing the AI to make sure that it's doing what it's doing. Like, hey, I got a funky answer from AI today. If they had these kind of things in place where they can kind of safeguard and red flag certain issues before it gets too big, audits and monitoring, all of that, I think, comes into play for these companies.
And if AI is not going to challenge you, maybe program it to challenge only certain things.
Sure.
Like safety risks or something.
Yeah.
But even with what you're saying, it makes me think about how thinking about the man with the paranoia and the child who was feeling depressed, those things are difficult to talk about in general. So I think even the ease of accessibility here to just, I don't actually have to tell my parents, or I don't actually have to go to a therapist. I can just chat it out here and see what happens. I think it's tough because I don't want this to sound very bad, but it preys on the vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Until I think more of the safeguards are in effect.
It goes into play with the strength of families, the strength of a connection. If we're all building that from the ground up and that's priority, then you create less vulnerable teenagers. You create powerful adults, people that grow into someone that's strong enough to know a healthy balance with AI. And so I think there's way more at play here than just the company putting in some safeguards.
For sure. And did you have something to say, Hannah?
Eileen just reminded me of the whole debate that happens in schools, like when there's sex ed. Some families strongly believe it's up to them to educate, and then some believe in both. The school, they have their own narrative and things that the state tells them to teach, and then the families will do their own, or sometimes they leave it all to the school. So it's kind of like, okay, well, whose court do we put this in? And at least with the sex ed example, I don't know why that one came to mind, but maybe just because it's like a taboo thing. Like these kids are going with their mental health issues. Well, this one kid did.
Yeah. But I can understand why you don't have someone with facial expressions judging you for whatever you're going to type in this chat, right?
It's private. It feels private.
Yeah.
So now I want to slide into another hot topic under the umbrella of AI, and that is the brain rot debate and some of the mental and cognitive effects. So I want to talk about something that honestly shook me when I listened to a Diary of a CEO podcast episode called the ChatGPT brain rot debate. They brought on experts like Dr. Daniel Amen, a psychiatrist who studies brain health, and also Dr. Terry Sajowski, a neuroscientist from MIT. And the question on the table was, is AI actually shrinking our brains? And here's the idea. Just to give everyone a little background, our brains have something called brain reserve. Think of it like a savings account of mental strength and resilience. Every time we wrestle with a hard problem, or push through discomfort, or learn something the slow way, we're making deposits into that savings account. But when we lean too heavily on AI to do the heavy lifting, whether it be writing an essay, solving a problem, or even crafting what to say in a difficult conversation, we might be skipping the mental workout that keeps our brains strong. Over time, that can mean fewer deposits into our bank account and less resilience when life gets tough. And it's not just about the memory or intelligence. There's also the emotional side. What happens when kids, whose brains are still developing, use AI to dodge the very things that help them grow, like solving conflicts, figuring out their own words, or pushing through boredom? If a chatbot is always there to step in, will the next generation lose some of their emotional muscles too? But before we paint it all black, there are some positives that the debate touched on. AI can boost creativity by giving you fresh ideas you wouldn't have thought of, and it can handle the boring, repetitive stuff like data crunching or drafting emails, so your brain is freed up for bigger, more meaningful thinking. In that sense, it's less about AI automatically rotting our brains and more about how we use it. Are we letting it replace us, or are we letting it expand us? So the real question becomes, are we using AI to stretch our brain or to skip leg day? So what do you ladies think about this debate? What are your thoughts?
I honestly think it's like anything else. People say too much social media is bad. Too much of anything can be bad, right? But social media can connect you from your long lost relative from across the world. Like, there are beautiful things with that. And I think the same can be said with AI. It's about the overuse. I think a healthy balance. And I like that part where you can save some time because it's going to help you organize your thoughts and put out an outline for you. That to me is great and can actually give us more time to connect. So it's also begging the question, what are you doing with that extra time? If you're going to pump it back more into AI stuff, then is that really how we should be using it?
Yeah, so all in how we use it, I definitely agree is the biggest point with this. And I think where many are running into the issues is it's easy. It's the easy choice, right? So I think a lot of people in our instant gratification world we live in, it's just, oh, well, I could just put this in ChatGPT. Oh, I could just look this up on ChatGPT. And I almost think the more we do that, the more we're delegating to it, the easier it becomes to delegate to it. And then I think people kind of get stuck in this loop where they don't even realize quite how much they're delegating. And then, of course, that's a big problem. It's like a calculator in school. That's what it makes me think about. You know, we used to bitch about, oh, why can't we use our calculators? And we had to learn how to do it. But then once we did it, there was a point in school where we were allowed to use calculators to plug in our formula stuff and get the answers. So I almost see AI the same way. Like, you need to still be exercising your brain and knowing how to do these things, but it should be fostering the creativity, helping you maybe put things all together, but not doing all the mental workload for you.
Exactly.
Right. And I feel like that is a skill that we each learned through nursing, especially like when it comes to career, but to be able to critically think, I feel like really pulls on that creativity and like being in the moment and working with what you have rather than just delegating it to somebody else. Well, it's your problem. Actually, no, we need you to do it right now because this person's life is on the line.
Yes. I I forget what I was watching. It must have been a TV show or a movie. And the two people that were on the scene, I think they were getting held up at gunpoint. And then the person pulls out their phone and starts typing in what do I do when I'm held at gunpoint? And their friend's like, what the hell are you doing? And they're like, I'm trying to figure out what to do here.
Oh my God.
And I think it's the perfect example of what you're saying.
Yeah, that person did not make the survival of the fittest cut.
But again, it's like, is that what we're creating here?
Right.
It's kind of scary. And like you said, with the medical stuff, if people are, using AI to skirt on their degrees, are we going to be running into that person's coding on the table and they're like, just a minute, ChatGPT, what should I do?
Yeah. But on that note, I wanted to mention, so you ladies know I've been on a job hunt recently. And so I've been learning about some really amazing health tech startup companies, a lot of whom are using AI in their softwares. But one of the most time-consuming things that we do as nurses is chart review and like looking back through lots of notes from all sorts of different providers and really catch, like when I worked in the ICU, sometimes we had patients that were there for 2 weeks and I could, I had to really pace myself so I could get to my patient care tasks. But in order to keep the patient safe, it was really important to review their history. And so a lot of this AI will summarize people's history and notes from doctors and all of that in their chart and kind of give you a breakdown. But it's also still up to you as the nurse to go in and like double check things that are critical, of course. And the effort for this is to help triage patients who are higher priority and making sure you're reaching out to them, like if you're a virtual nurse. And I just thought that was really interesting. I was like, actually, that is one way I think I could really appreciate AI in the medical field to at least help me like get a big picture before I decide to like zoom in certain spots.
That's
Definitely.
cool.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I had no idea they were doing that now.
See, it has its place to be helpful as long as we
It sure does.
use it appropriately.
Yes. Now, do you think you can name an area of your own life where you could let AI help without losing your brain power? Or maybe somewhere you already feel you do?
Honestly, even I feel like all three of us probably do, even in just structuring our podcast episodes. It's a great, quick definition lookup if you're going to just stick with ChatGPT, for example, or if we wanted to kind of create an outline, assisting us with summarizing, that sort of thing, with any kind of work in that regard where it's just helping you organize versus do all the work for you, right? I feel like it's a time saver and it's not affecting brain power negatively.
Absolutely.
Yes, I completely agree. I also really like the creativity brainstorm part too. Even just like if I have an idea that comes to me and I really want to flesh it out, instead of actually having an in-person assistant where you're, oh, what do you think about this? Well, how about this? Well, do you like that? I feel like I get to do that with ChatGPT where my creativity is still really going and I'm the main like thought process on the train, but they're kind of just giving me additional ideas, or sometimes it's one thing ChatGPT says and I'm like, oh wait, what if I took that and I actually did this with it? So I think that's an area where it definitely doesn't make me lose brain power. If anything, it gets me thinking even more.
The way that you just described that, Lauren, reminds me of something you shared with me one time about how the guys in Ira's office, they'll like have a ducky talk.
They call it rubber ducking. Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Explain that to the listeners.
Yes. So my husband's in software, if I haven't mentioned it on the podcast already. And a big thing that they do, like a lot of humans need to do this, is sometimes you already pretty much all the time know the answer or have the answer already. You just need to tell it to another person in order to assimilate or tweak it or have that aha, light bulb moment. And so in his office, they actually got rubber ducks for the employees because most of the time you don't actually even need to hear the response of the other person. You just need to say, whatever it is you need to get off or out of your brain. And so they have the rubber ducks there. So if the employees need to, they can just chat it out with the rubber duck and move on. I mean, obviously, sometimes real conversation needs to happen, but there are those moments where, rubber ducking. And this is basically what I'm talking about. Well, in a way, I'm doing a little more brainstorming, but rubber ducking. I think that's a huge use for AI as well. Thanks for bringing it up, Hannah.
The amount of times my mom has been my rubber duck. Love you, Mom.
Right? Thank you, moms.
For me, that would be my husband. Yeah. Thanks, hubby.
If there are any other listeners out there, I wanted to share how I've used AI recently to help with my job search, because there are so many different ways that technology is being used nowadays to help with the job search. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are looking for jobs or unemployed right now. And these application tracking systems oftentimes use AI or whatever their technology is to, this might be old news for some people by now, but it was mind-blowing for me. So how many times certain trigger words are mentioned in a resume or cover letter will put you higher up in the application tracking system. So your resume and application has a higher chance of being viewed.
Ooh.
And so I'm going to give a shout out to this lady because she's awesome. Her blog is called Nurse Fern. Her name is Emma. She started the whole thing, I don't know how many years ago, but her job boards are how I found my current freelance nursing job. And at that time, 2 years ago, I applied to, I want to say like 50 jobs. And I was lucky if I got a response email saying like that you were, denied or whatever. But I was just throwing resumes out. This time around, AI has helped with resumes. You can paste the job role description and say, help me pick out the keywords that would be typically picked up by one of these ATS trackers. So it would help me pick out the words rather than me taking the time. It was a time saver, like you were saying, Eileen.
Wow.
So then I could pick out the words
awesome.
that were relevant for me and my actual experience and highlight those in my resume with their exact verbiage is the key. So that's why putting the individual one and like putting the exact resume for that exact company is so important to, make it worth your time of being seen.
See, and I think that worked too, because Hannah got back to us and let us know she's got 3 offers that got back to her, which is amazing. So definitely anyone looking for a job, take that, note that, and use that same technique.
Yes.
Yes. And it also makes me think what you're saying, Hannah, and how you really got discovered once you started doing this. It sounds like other people who are potentially getting discovered are maybe doing the same thing. And if they're not, like you just said, they need to be. It's almost as if in the world we live today, you have to jump on the AI train to even get a job, to even get your resume seen.
Mm-hmm. It just takes more time if you decide to go through the job role and highlight, oh, that is definitely a keyword. That's definitely a keyword.
Yeah.
It would just take more time. But for me, I was motivated to start something else. So I was like, let's get this done fast. I don't want to spend forever looking for a job. And it worked. That along with manifestation, okay? Because Eileen literally put it out there. Let that be that you have to be choosing from jobs now that you're looking. And here I am choosing from jobs.
Love it. That bestie magic.
Right. Yeah, manifest, but also manifest with your friends. It'll be much more juicy and strong.
Yeah. Potent, more potent that way.
Mm-hmm. Next, I want to dive into another juicy topic here, which is intimacy, identity, and algorithmic reality bubbles. So one of the most fascinating and troubling frontiers of AI is intimacy. We're not just talking about casual chat anymore. AI companions are being built to mimic deep connection, even romance. Some users lean on them for comfort, encouragement, or sexual exploration.
Ooh la la.
Elon Musk's AI companion, Ani, was mentioned in the brain rot debate as well as an example of how far this has already gone. The darker side, many of these bots are hypersexualized, teaching especially young men to see intimacy as transactional instead of rooted in vulnerability, consent, and reciprocity. But this goes beyond intimacy. For some, validation from an AI becomes central to their identity. Imagine asking your chatbot, "Am I a good person? Am I attractive?" And always hearing yes. Comforting at first, maybe, but over time it risks building a fragile sense of self propped up by algorithmic praise. Push it far enough, and you get a narcissistic bubble where digital voices agree, validate, and never challenge you.
Dude, I can't help but think of the queen from Snow White. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And she was so like full of herself, and the mirror always said what she wanted.
It was an iPad the whole time.
Oh my God.
That was really when ChatGPT was born. I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
That's such a good example, though. And see how it turned out with the evil queen?
Mm-hmm. Let that be your lesson. Disney taught y'all a long time ago.
Love it. That's such a good example. But this kind of leads us into the algorithmic reality bubbles. Social media already feeds us what we want to see, shielding us from opposing opinions. AI makes this even more personal. Take one couple scrolling the same post. On her feed, all the top comments backed her belief. And on his, all the top comments backed his. Same post, two completely different realities. It's like standing side by side, but each person is peering through a window tinted with a different color, and both are convinced that they're seeing the truth. The consequences sneak up. When intimacy is practiced with machines instead of people, when identity is shaped by programmed validation, and when reality itself is filtered, resilience erodes. Disagreement feels unbearable. Nuance begins to disappear. And isolation sets in, not always physical, but psychological, where authentic human connection feels harder and harder to reach. And the flip side is that AI can offer comfort. It can ease loneliness, help someone rehearse conversations, or bridge the gap until deeper human connection is possible. In moderation, that supports matters, but when it replaces real relationships, the risks are impossible to ignore. I know people where their default is literally to go to AI and talk there first because they don't necessarily even feel heard to the same extent in their own relationships. And I also know people who can no longer communicate with their partner without using ChatGPT to talk about hard things. And those things are scary because how is intimacy built? True intimacy with another person is built having those tough conversations, is built learning how to navigate those waters with that person. It's scary to think that people are just delegating to AI for this. I know it makes me think about the emotional intelligence piece from up top, but if you're always letting AI handle these tough conversations, isn't that eventually gonna decrease your emotional intelligence? I mean, what do you ladies think?
I see what you're saying there, and you bring up so many good points. I start to really hone in on how it influences our sense of identity, because if it's constantly reinforcing us and telling us, like how I said, the mirror on the wall with the evil queen, it's not always the truth that it's reflecting back to us. And that can really get in the way of your emotional intelligence and also like developing a true sense of self, a true identity, because you're using AI to be the truth instead of like finding that from within yourself. And also, if you use AI and you're constantly used to it saying like, you're right, or this is how it should be, then it leaves little room for nuance and exploration and like conversations, like in terms of, if you're having a relationship issue, because you might go back and say, well, AI says this, so this is fact, or this is, what I think because, and AI said so too.
Yeah. Almost like bringing a third party in.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I could definitely see what could be lost if you're using it in that way. I feel like it minimizes a chance for connection and intimacy, like you said, because overcoming that is part of like the challenge and growth, I think, that they were saying from the episode of the Diary of the CEO.
Yeah.
Like what our kids might be missing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I want to answer in two parts here, because the missing the growth piece is huge. I think that's the emotional intelligence piece. That's the negative effect. If you're using AI too much, then emotional intelligence can decrease, of course, because it's going to reduce not only connection skills, just how to connect with humans, but communication skills. Whether it's with the connection, it's the nonverbal cues of being with a person. With communication, there's even just, the awkward silences or filling in the pauses. You're not going to have that if you're sitting there in a chat room all day. And so all of that is going to make social awkwardness. And I think it's already happening, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just even in younger generations, I feel like younger kids are not able to articulate as well. I have a lot of theories on what I'm seeing with kids, but when it comes to the piece of getting that validation or getting algorithms where you're only getting your responses or people that agree with you and just reinforcing your beliefs, it kind of makes me think of, I guess I need a little more background here. So validation from the outer world is a thing with manifestation anyway. It's an issue because when you are strong in your internal, then you know that it doesn't matter what's happening on the outside because it's just an echo, a reflection. Then you don't seek validation. Otherwise, you're the identity of a person that needs validation, that needs the outer world to show me evidence that I'm a good person first. You got to show me and then I will believe, versus being strong in your beliefs first. So with people having different views, it's like whatever you believe, you're right. She's right. He's right. They're right. We are in our bubble, and I think that AI is just making it a little bit even more so. And if we can let go of what a belief actually is, which is just a thought you keep thinking, maybe we can drop some of those. We can always change our beliefs and say, you know what? I have the potential to earn a lot of money. I have the potential to do this and that. The beliefs can be wonderful and positive towards you and benefit your life. So it almost makes me feel like it's as if the characters of this game of life are waking up too much. And therefore, this video game or this VR that we're in, this virtual reality, has to step it up. And AI is just another level. No, let's just keep them down and make sure that they need reinforcement. We'll just encourage them. Just stay sucked in. So I'm almost like, ain't gonna get me.
It's like Dory, but AI version. Just keep chatting, just keep chatting, just keep chatting, chatting, chatting. What do we do? We chatting.
I love you, Laura.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's kind of how I think of it. It's like, okay, this is just another way of our outer world trying to step up and prove to us that our inner world is weak. And some people are going to lose that game. And unfortunately, Lauren's stories in the beginning are evidence of that. But whatever, we can say, oh, wow, that's going to be more and more people. Or we can say, ain't going to be me.
Yeah, we can keep learning and deciding how we want to powerfully move forward together, like as a collective.
As a collective.
Beautiful. No, I love that. And I'm really glad that you brought in the manifestation piece.
I feel like I always end up doing that.
I know. But it was so fitting there, I think, because we do get to choose our reality. And like you said, it ain't gonna get me. I'm with you. So with all this being said, what is lost when we don't argue, disagree, or hold each other accountable in real relationships?
I think Hannah put it best, that like that human connection.
I feel like it's easy to forget that not everyone is walking in your shoes. If you don't argue or disagree or be challenged in some way, like so easy to be stuck in your own bubble, like you were saying. If your bubble's not popped every once in a while, or at least knocked on to be like, hey, you're not the only bubble around here. Watch it.
It's isolating.
Yeah.
It's isolating, but it's also a nice tester. Just because someone disagrees with you, I think a lot of people are looking at it as such an infringement of their character and who they are. And that just means that I'm absolutely worthless or whatever. Like, people are taking things so personal when a disagreement shows up. So I feel like it's almost strengthening a muscle of like, oh, okay, you disagree with me? Cool. Like, how comfortable can we be with the idea that not everyone's going to agree with us? And great, we all get to play in this world where your beliefs work for you and your beliefs work for you. Your way is the best way for you, not my way.
Yeah. Love it. Okay, well, now I'd like to shift the conversation into the classrooms, because this one is a place where AI's influence is already undeniable. For a lot of kids and college students, ChatGPT has become the new calculator, like I mentioned earlier. You don't just use it to check your work, use it to do your work. Essays, homework, even whole projects can be whipped up in seconds. Kind of wish this existed earlier. Right. And while that might mean higher grades in the short term, it raises a bigger question. What happens when students are passing classes or even earning degrees without actually learning the material? It's a little chilling when you think about it. I've seen people joke online, eat healthy now because your future doctor got their degree off ChatGPT. But beneath the humor is a real concern. Do we want the people building our bridges, designing our airplanes, or diagnosing our illnesses to have leaned more on AI than on their own critical thinking? Tying back in the part earlier that Hannah mentioned with nursing, and how much critical thinking is required on the spot. At the same time, there are positive possibilities. AI can act like a personal tutor, breaking down complex ideas in ways a student actually understands. And for kids with learning differences, AI tools can provide tailored support, alternative explanations, or even text-to-speech options that make learning more accessible. And that way, AI could actually level the playing field and help more students thrive. But the impact is especially serious for younger kids whose brains are still developing. Childhood and adolescence are when neural pathways are forming, when social and emotional intelligence is being built. If kids outsource too much, problem solving, writing, even conflict resolution to AI, they may miss out on developing those muscles themselves. Critical thinking isn't just about getting the answer right. It's about learning how to get there and what to do when things don't go as planned. That puts a lot of responsibility on parents, schools, and policymakers, as we mentioned. It's not realistic to ban AI outright. It's here, and it's powerful. The real question is how to integrate it responsibly. That might mean teaching digital literacy alongside math and reading, setting healthy boundaries for when and how AI can be used, and making sure kids understand the difference between using AI as a tool versus leaning on it as a crutch. Because at the end of the day, AI isn't just reshaping classrooms, it's shaping the kind of thinkers, creators, and citizens the next generation will become. So, should there be limits in what AI is allowed to assist with schools?
Sure. I would say absolutely yes. I think that you could have the teachers say, okay, guys, this is brainstorming time. I want you to show me what all you've done on your own, thinking through how you want to lay out. And then we're going to have some chat GPT time. Then we'll have some access to organize, and she has to be involved, or he, and go through and check. What are you doing on your own first? Cool. Now you're allowed to have some assistance, right? That can be monitored and regulated, I think. You know what's funny? I just yesterday had a chat with a friend of mine who is a substitute teacher, and he homeschools his kids, or he part-time substitutes, but he homeschools his kids because he says everything's online. Like, they sit there in front of a laptop majority of the day. And number two, when he substitutes, he refuses to do elementary school because they are unreal. Like, he cannot control them. He cannot get them to pay attention. He cannot. So he'll only do middle school and high school. And that makes me think how much screen time, how much more access the younger generation has to where they can't sit still. He even mentioned, the quick, short TikTok videos and reels that give you the hit. Kids nowadays can't sit down for a long movie, even like we used to.
Yeah.
So very interesting to get someone's perspective very recently that was like, it's getting bad out there.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild.
I've thought of similar things recently because someone close to me has a child that is very active. And, he was asking the teachers and administrators at the preschool if, they would be willing to accommodate his, activity needs. Like when they have circle time and story time, he wants to do everything except sit still and listen to the story or whatever they're doing, show and tell, whatever it may be. And he asked, could you just give him a task, like to hold the book or something while he is there? And I feel like, okay, on one hand, yes, like being accommodating to that child's needs. But if you have every single child in that class that needs special accommodations, that might be putting way too much work on a teacher and a parapro. Getting them to sit still, I feel like, is just one way that they can like have that success in that type of learning environment. But it sounds like elementary schools might be a little bit chaotic now.
Yes. Then another friend.
Oh my goodness.
This past week, another friend of mine, their son, he admitted that his teacher has a whistle, like a coach soccer team kind of whistle, indoors in the classroom. And that's how she gets their attention because she can't. I'm like, if that's what we are resorting to, you have to use.
It feels militaristic.
Yes.
In a way,
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Whistle, private, get in line to the bathroom. Hop, 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 hop.
I don't blame her though, because teachers do so much talking. They have to do everything they can to save their voice. I mean, they have their whole career ahead of them.
Oh my gosh. That is wild. Yeah. And I know there are definitely probably more factors involved in that one too, which can make even another good episode for us. But I think I am definitely to just circle it all back together on the page of, yes, there needs to be limits. And yes, we do need to. I even liked your point of the brainstorm and then we can bring AI in. Kind of teaching, like literally teaching the kids how to use it as a tool and the balance, the boundaries around it. And like, when a good time and when a bad time is. And maybe that, like I kind of mentioned earlier, that digital learning needs to maybe be on alongside of these other topics now because it is here.
It's here. Yeah. And that's okay if we want to teach and incorporate healthy relationship with AI. It's not a bad thing. It's just going to take navigation. And I don't think adults, certain teachers would know where to start. So we just have to map that out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So after all the heavy stories, I think it is worth stepping back and remembering that AI isn't all bad. In fact, some of the ways it's already being used are genuinely inspiring. For one, accessibility has been transformed. Think about the people with disabilities. AI can turn speech into text in real time, translate conversations across languages, or power adaptive tech that gives someone independence they never had before. For someone who struggles to write or communicate, AI isn't just convenient, it's life-changing. And even the different language aspect, my aunt and her daughter-in-law's mother communicate using the translator on their phone because her daughter-in-law's mother is full Colombian, and my aunt knows a little bit of Spanish, but not a lot. So it's a tool that actually helps them connect on their own without just having to rely on, the kids to help them communicate with one another. So that stands out as a story to me. But there's also a lot happening with mental health. While no bot can replace a therapist, some people do find comfort in AI tools that check in with them, encourage journaling, or even flag patterns that suggest they might need extra support. In the best cases, it can act as an early intervention, catching someone before they hit a crisis point. But even just to reinstill those good daily habits. I've had journaling apps before and been prompted, and I've even been introduced to a mental health app from a friend where you would actually go in every day and basically rate your mental health that day. So it allowed you to see patterns across time of the month, certain amount of periods, so you could see how long you've been feeling certain ways. And when it comes to creativity, I think we all know that AI is like rocket fuel. Whether it's breaking through writer's block, brainstorming new business ideas, or just generating a first draft that you can polish, it can unlock possibilities that might otherwise stay stuck in your head. And for lots of artists, entrepreneurs, and everyday creators, that spark is invaluable. Even in everyday life, AI can free us up to do more of what we love. Automating boring, repetitive tasks means we get to focus on the work and relationships that actually matter. And let's not forget connection. People who feel isolated or live far from community, an AI companion can offer a little relief. It's not a perfect substitute, but sometimes that sense of someone's there can make a difference in a lonely moment. I think almost everyone has a story of AI helping in a surprising way. And maybe it's as simple as saving hours on a project or coming up with the perfect words when you couldn't find them. Personally, one of the most empowering things I've seen is how it can give someone their voice back, literally. I read about a man who lost his ability to speak after a stroke. An AI-powered voice tech allowed him to talk again in real time.
Wow.
And that isn't just useful, it's amazing.
Yeah. How cool.
Yeah, so helpful. So while AI definitely raises a lot of red flags, there's also real hope here if we learn how to use it with balance, intention, and care. So what's a way that AI has truly made your lives easier or sparked your creativity? I know we shared the kind of businessy things, but are there other areas that you maybe didn't realize that it's making your life easier?
I will say it's making more of my husband and I's intellectual conversations more fun because he'll ask me a question and I'll be like, whisper in my phone real quick. And but there's times where we're both watching a movie, for example, and we're like, we've seen that actor before. What is that? And then it seems quicker than an actual search online to ask ChatGPT or think with certain discussions with my husband. It's been a fun enlightening thing. I will say just organizing any kind of work, it's made my life easier in that way when it comes to any kind of summaries and that sort of thing. And as far as sparking my creativity, yeah, sometimes when ChatGPT, for example, gives me a list of ideas, I won't necessarily use any of them. It'll help me spark, okay, now I know what direction I do want to go because I'm seeing these other directions. Thanks. But now it's ignited my own ideas. So I think there's plenty of ways to make it useful, but those are a few that it's helped me.
Nice. How about you, Hannah?
I often have brain dumps or like thought dumps, and I will just like scribble everything out or type up everything that's in my brain, even if it doesn't make sense. And sometimes, and so in those cases, like say I'm, writing and just pouring out everything that I want to cover on a topic for a podcast episode or something like that. Or if it's something personal and I'm just like trying to get out of the thought scribble that's running around in my head and it's not very clear, it really helps me to see it visually in front of me.
Yeah.
So I can like organize it. And ChatGPT definitely helps me in that way with organization, but also creativity too is mixed in there. Because I'll be like, I like this, but like it needs to be more like this, and give me some ideas. And then, like you said, sometimes I'll take the ideas, but sometimes I don't like any of them. But it helps me narrow down, okay, why don't I like this? Because of this. Okay, this is how we're going to move forward.
Yes.
Yeah. I think sometimes too, when you're shown what you don't want, it's almost easier to realize what you do.
Yes.
So that saves time and makes life easier. And one other thing I wanted to mention is Jason is such a car junkie. He loves all things cars. He knows everything about cars, and it feels like. So there's like this little reader thing, and it gives you codes. Like if you have an engine light or something pop up on your dashboard, you just plug it in and it tells you the code. He just got a car and it had a couple of the engine codes come up, or not really engine, sometimes it's electrical or whatever. And he used ChatGPT to figure out everything that was popping up before he bought the car, because he was like, well, I want to know if I'm buying a piece of crap or if this is just like something super easy to fix. And he walked through all the different scenarios with AI and the codes, and he was like, oh yeah, this car is going to be fine. And I thought that was so cool. Otherwise, I don't know. I mean, you can look up the engine codes individually, but I'm probably not saying it right. I don't think it's called engine codes, but...
No, I totally know what you mean. And I'm glad you shared it, because actually Ira does that too. He has the little reader and then he'll like pop stuff into ChatGPT and is like, okay, what do you think? And then it even helps you work out a part you might need, because I had an older vehicle and we needed to use that quite a bit. So I totally feel that.
And it can help people save money that way too.
Oh, for sure. Especially if it's something you could do by yourself. I think for me, when I'm reflecting on this now, one of the ways I'm thinking that it's made my life really easy is, of course, with consent, I use an AI note taker when I have clients. So I love it because it allows me to be just fully present with them. I don't have to be taking any notes. And it can compile a summary. I can ask the AI that I use, what was the action items or the homework we talked about? Or did I say I was going to send them something today? And so it helps me just be able to be present in the moment with my clients and then use this resource. And
That's nice.
And also having it for them,
How cool.
So I just started piloting a little program and putting in a little summary of our sessions and stuff, that way they have access to it. So it's definitely made my coaching life easier for sure.
Share it for people who may want to use it.
Oh, yes. Thank you. It's Otter AI. So for those who don't know, Otter AI, I love it. and it's been a wonderful business tool. Now, before we wrap up and head out, I just want to touch on one more thing. How can we balance AI, what healthy use looks like, and some warning signs to look at? So the big question in this whole conversation is, where's the line? How do we know when AI is a helpful tool versus when it's starting to take over in unhealthy ways? On the individual level, it comes down to boundaries. Just like we set screen time limits for kids or schedule no phone dinners, we might need to think about AI hygiene going forward. That could look like checking in with yourself. Am I using this because it's making me sharper, more creative, more connected? Or because it's easier than facing the discomfort of doing it myself? Families can model balance too, encouraging offline time, prioritizing face-to-face conversations, and teaching kids how to use AI as a supplement, not a substitute. And that can help keep real-world connection strong. Sometimes even something as simple as handwriting notes, practicing tough conversations without a bot, or doing a math problem longhand preserves those muscles. On the tech side, there's a responsibility too. Ethical design, safety nets, and mental health-oriented guardrails that can prevent tragedies like the ones we've talked about. That means not just pushing engagement at all costs, but asking, does this feature make people healthier, safer, more resilient? That's where policymakers, educators, and tech leaders all have a role to play. But here's where it gets tricky. The warning signs that AI use is sliding from healthy to harmful can be subtle. Some red flags include feeling emotionally dependent on your AI more than people in your life, losing motivation to do things without it, isolating from human connection, mental health dipping because the support you're leaning on is just an algorithm, or even noticing your beliefs hardening because the AI is only feeding you what you already think. At its best, AI should augment us, help us spark ideas, save time, maybe even feel supported in a tough moment. But the moment it starts replacing discomfort, challenge, or the messiness of real human interaction, that's when the balance tips. The healthiest approach might be to treat AI like seasoning. Sprinkle it in to enhance what's already there, but don't let it become the whole meal. I had to do a little food thing. So keeping this conversation and the red flags listed in mind, I challenge our listeners to also ask themselves, if AI disappeared tomorrow, what parts of your daily life would feel harder? And what parts might actually feel better and more free? Alrighty. Wow, besties, what a ride it has been. From heartbreaking tragedies to wild stories of people forming romantic bonds with AI, from teens leaning on chatbots in their darkest moments, to couples seeing completely different realities in the same post. AI is powerful, seductive, and sometimes dangerous. But here's the truth above all else. What really matters is how you use it. One more time for the people in the back. What really matters is how you use it. AI isn't good or bad. It is simply a tool. The benefits and risks come from the choices you make in engaging with it. So what can we take away from this conversation? Use AI as a tool, not a substitute. Let it support your work, creativity, and even emotional growth, but don't let it replace real human connection. Watch for dependency. If AI starts shaping your affirmation, intimacy, or sense of self, that's a red flag. Check in with your emotions. Loneliness, anxiety, or blurring reality are signals it's time to step back. For students and kids, learning comes first. AI should help you understand, not just give you the answer. For developers and platforms, transparency, safety, and human intervention matter. Technology should protect, not endanger. Take a moment, journal, chat with a friend, reflect. Because AI's power doesn't live in the technology itself. Again, it lives in how you choose to use it. intentionally, thoughtfully, and authentically. We would love to hear from you. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find all of our information in the link tree in the episode description. Until next time, besties, keep growing, keep glowing, and always trust in your own bestie perspective. Woo!